Hey everybody! So today I just wanted to talk about some self-care and what I have done to work on self-care over the past kind of several months. So, it kind of all began at National Conference this last fall in Kansas City. I was walking around and in the exhibit hall, and at one of the booths was Ami Kunimura, and kind of this self-care table. She offers CMTE course, a big CMTE course. It's like 31 credits for self-care, and had these really cute little, like, to go. They're kind of coaster sized, but I use mine as a bookmark of kind of like positive affirmations. And I was like, oh, cool. And I took one and I thought about it. And at the time, I wasn't aware, but I was starting to have signs of burnout, even as a newer professional. Um, so a few months later, I kind of had her name in my mind, and I went and I checked out her website, which I will put down that information below. Bought the ebook, and the ebook was a huge step in my self-care direction. It goes through different kinds of self-care, different sources of burnout, and kind of like what do you do in different strategies. Really thorough. It's targeted towards music therapists, but I would recommend the book for anybody, and especially if you're in any kind of giving or healthcare professional, and because burnout and kind of compassion fatigue of giving to others is something to really watch out for, and that you can use this resource. She's put so much time into it um, to kind of work on your self-care routine. Another thing that's really helped me the last couple of months are all the Facebook communities. They can get a little heated sometimes, but overall, I've found that there's really thoughtful discussions, great resources, and ways to connect with other music therapists. So I'll list all the groups that I'm in below. There's some really great ones. And you can figure out who's in your area and just really connect. And conferences have been huge for me connecting as well. In fact, this last conference, oh no, this one was in Kansas City. I'm getting all mixed up. Where was it? National Conference was in Dallas. The Midwestern Conference was in Kansas City. And at Kansas City, I went to a session about design thinking by Amanda Bryant. And this has changed so much of how I practice as a music therapist. So design thinking is a lot in the corporate world, a way to kind of design a product for the population. What you have to do is it values failure over success. So if something fails, that means you know that that wasn't it, and you can keep working to kind of problem solve. And it really allows you to trust your clinical instinct and take a step back. What is the client telling us? This is Amanda Bryant. She said, keep it, tweak it, or remove it. So, if something's working, keep it. If it's not quite there, there's no reason to get rid of it right away. You can kind of tweak it, kind of see what's going on, or you can remove it if you're like, oh, that didn't work, let's try something else. And kind of really pacing yourself in that problem solving so that you can offer solutions, but they don't always work, and then that's okay. Because I really have struggled with that as a newer professional, is like leaving a session and maybe it was bad, but objectively, subjectively, it wasn't bad. I'm just being so hard on myself, and it's okay not to always know, because at least I know that didn't work, so we can figure out from there, oh, what does this client really need? What is the right problem? And it's not being afraid to fail or to try, and moving the feeling of it's me to shifting your perspective. And a lot of those notes were from her session. I wanted to have them by me because they're so helpful. When it doesn't work, don't beat yourself up. And get into that really problem-solving, exciting kind of mind. And I've really come recently, I feel like, into sessions with more of that kind of mindset, working on shifting that perspective. So that, along with these self-care routines that I've developed and the communities I've connected with, I found myself, on the other side of burnout or starting to get on the other side of burnout. Burnout is something that might be a continual fight, and that's okay because I can acknowledge what are these sources of burnout. How am I going to combat this actively? Another way to connect our podcasts, I find, especially if you're maybe an independent contractor or the only music therapist at your location, I like podcasts by music therapists to kind of connect and see what other people's ideas are, like away from conferences. So I'll put some of my favorites down below too. And then in general, sleep, water, exercise. I'm sure everyone's like, yeah, I know. But self-care is work. I feel like sometimes right now self-care in society gets a little misconstrued of like do whatever feels best like at that moment. And it's not necessarily what feels best that's going to be the best self-care. It's going to be what is the best thing for you long term, and being kind to yourself. And sometimes being kind to yourself means getting more sleep, even if that's difficult, drinking more water, even if you don't want to, finding a way to exercise, even when you don't want to. And I think everyone can find an exercise that works for them, and that moderation and balance is key. It's like, yeah, we can treat ourselves and buy a lot of things for self-care as long as we're acknowledging its moderation and not developing negative coping mechanisms. And I think for me, just through all these self-care kind of discoveries and research knowledge, is that what comes back a lot is being grateful and acknowledging gratefulness and things you're grateful for every day, and finding time to really acknowledge that in a very mindful way. And being kind. We're so good at being kind to others as music therapists, and so good at serving others. Sometimes we forget at the end of the day we can be kind to ourselves too, and we should be kind. And sometimes being kind to ourselves is also work. But yeah, so that's my spiel about self-care. Hopefully there's something out of this video that is helpful, or one of the tools below is helpful. It's been something I've been really working towards as a goal of trying to find a way to balance anxiety in life, and these self-care tools and shifting perspective have really helped me. If you need help, reach out to your loved ones. There's so many people available for you, even when it doesn't feel like it. And you're not alone. I've experienced burnout. I've experienced burnout, and so many other people have, not only as music therapists. It's so common in our society right now with busyness, so you're not alone, and you can figure out what's the right thing to do to take care of yourself. So yeah, hope that was helpful. Feel free to leave comments of what you like to do for self-care below. There's so many things more I could have talked about, but I wanted to kind of keep it short and sweet. And I hope you guys have a great day.